Okay, and that brings us to our speaker today. I have had the privilege of hearing her speak before, which is why she was one of the first names that came to mind when I was thinking about speakers for this year. Her story really impacted me, and I know that you'll get a lot out of today. She's a national speaker, teacher, and author of 2 Bible studies designed to help participants create space to be with God, have deep conversation about what they'll be learning. She's best known for her perspective when it comes to finding beauty in difficult circumstances. In Stephanie's honest, real-life approach that people have come to love, audiences have found encouragement, inspiration, and renewed hope. She is a wife, a mother of 3, and dreams of a day she can have a little farmhouse with an old truck to call her own. Please welcome Stephanie Boyce.
Technology works. All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. This is really exciting. I have been in like the polar vortex with you guys, and it usually takes me 30 minutes to get to Libertyville from where I live, and it took an hour and 15 minutes. I think people are like, they don't know how to drive anymore. So it was nuts. Like the roads were absolutely crazy this morning. So I'm just excited to be here. But I have been here before, actually, and I don't really remember if it was last year or the year before. 2 years? Been 2 years? So lots happened in 2 years. I'm actually going to take this off. I'm a wiggler, so the stand makes me nervous. It has been 2 years, and a lot has happened for me in 2 years, and so I'm excited to catch up and tell my story. So I love your theme for MOPS this year. I love finding your fire. I think it's so important for us to find the things that get us up in the morning. And normally the things that get us up in the morning are crying kids, right? And responsibilities. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think, especially as women, we have passions and we have things that we enjoy. We have a God-given purpose in life. And sometimes our responsibilities can really kind of bog us down, or sometimes they can take over, or sometimes we can get confused that our responsibilities are who we are. That's a hard thing, isn't it? With, you have these roles, these really important roles in life, your wife, your mother, your whatever roles you identify in. But then there's also this part of you that's a soul that goes beyond the roles that you play. So today, what I want to do is just focus on your theme and talk about finding your fire and what that looked like for me, where I found it, and then hopefully what it looks like for you guys as well. So before I start, let's pray, if that's okay. Lord, thank you so much for getting us all here safely. Lord, I just know that you have a message for these women today. And I just pray that I would get out of the way and let that message come. And that you would just comfort and inspire and encourage these women today as only you can. In your holy and precious name, amen. All right, let's go. So this is my favorite place in the whole entire world. And unfortunately, I don't own it. But this is an actual picture that I took from a lake up in Wisconsin. It's actually my friend's lake, and they invite us every year to go up, and it is just beautiful to me. There is something about getting away from your routine, getting out into nature is just so refreshing, and it just slows you down. And you can breathe easier, and even though there's bugs, you still like being out in the fresh air, and it just does something to my soul. Anyone else like being outside? Some people are like, no, I hate bugs and outside. Yeah, so I'm a seasonal outdoorsman, meaning like if it's cold or rainy or I want to be inside, but if it's like 72 and perfect, like that, I love it. So we go up every year to this lake house, and one of my favorite things to do at this lake house is ATV with my son, Jaden. And he doesn't like it, but I do. And we go around, there's like a lake, and it's small, and I just like zoom him around, and I have him tucked into my legs, and it's just one of my favorite memories with my son. And it's really important that I'm making memories with my son because in 2009, my son was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder called Sanfilippo syndrome. I'm sure you have never heard of it unless you were here and have heard me speak. But it is a regressive disorder, so kids progress until about the age of 3, and then they start regressing. So my son lost the ability to walk and talk and feed himself, and he needed a wheelchair. And so we spent the last 10 years navigating the world of special needs with my son. In November, he passed away of 2017. So being with him and making these memories with him were super important. So he was 11 when he passed away. And he also has a little sister, Brooklyn, and Brooklyn passed away this last August. She was 9. She also had Sanfilippo syndrome. So since I have been here, both of my kids have passed away. I do have a little 6-year-old girl who does not have Sanfilippo, and she's in 1st grade. So, but making memories for me were really important, and that is why I always wanted a lake house of my own. Is because I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta have people up, I gotta have my kids like out on this lake house, and my husband is like, you know, we can't afford a lake house, right? And I'm like, well, maybe like a little one. He's like, we can't afford a lake house, but we can afford a camper. And so I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So we got this camper, and I'm really vain, and I pulled up, and it had this red maroon stripe down the side, and we bought it like online, like sight unseen, which is like the dumbest thing to do with a camper. And so it had this maroon stripe, and you get it, it's got like all these wood paneling, and it wasn't like what the picture was online, and I was so disappointed. And it has a wolf on it, you guys. Like, I'm going down like 94 with a howling wolf on the back of my camper. I told you I was vain. But you know what? It was exactly what we needed, because this summer, we spent the entire summer before Brooklyn passed with her in this camper. And it had a ramp, and so we could get her wheelchair and her feeding chair all the way up into the camper. And we made a ton of memories with her this summer. And it wasn't what I expected, but it was certainly what I needed. And I didn't even know that at the time. Does that happen to you guys? Yeah. Sometimes it comes in a package we don't exactly like. But what I learned this whole summer camping is that fire is a necessity. If you guys have been outdoor for any amount of time, you know that you can't be outdoors unless you have a fire. And a campfire is a lot of work. I don't know if you know that, but my mother-in-law has one where you just like click it on. And I thought, oh, that's what you do when you get outside. You just like build it and it just burns. And that's not how fires work. You have to like maintain it. And so I'm glad that my husband does that, because it's hard to build and maintain a fire. And the same is true of us. The same is true of us. When we have that fire inside of us, it is not something that we get to leave unattended. It's something that we have to constantly be tending to. So for the rest of our time, we're going to talk about fire today, why it's a necessity, and also why it's a thing and not an event. Why it's a thing, not an event. And that's because it's a process. So over time, we have to be tending to our fires. So we have to take care of our souls as we're navigating the different roles that God has us in. And when you guys are raising littles, which is why you're here, because you have littles, it can be so overwhelming. And same with special needs. Like, it was just never ending, the needs. So I understand from a very deep perspective of like what it takes to be doing what you're doing right now. And my biggest encouragement to you is just don't get lost in the weeds. Don't get lost in the weeds. You can tend to your soul in this season that you're in. It just might look a little bit different than it has in the past. So today, talking about fire is a thing. There's 3 things that you need for fire that we're going to go through. But what I want to just bring your attention to again is that fire is the visible effect of the process of burning. So it's something that people see as a result of what's happening behind the scenes. So some of the elements that we need to keep our soul connected and our soul healthy aren't going to be things that people see. So here are the 3 things a fire needs: a real fire and your fire. Fuel, heat, and oxygen. And you're going, how do I need fuel, heat, and oxygen for my soul? I'm going to tell you, okay? So the first is fuel. What's burning? What's burning? So the thing that is burning in a fire, obviously, is fuel, which would be wood. But what's burning for you are your people. It's the people that you love and care about. So when you're thinking about your own fire, the things that motivate you, that get you up in the morning, the reason you do what you do is because of your people, right? They're your fuel. And so it's so important for us to keep people the forefront of our lives because people matter. So maybe it's your husband, maybe it's you, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your neighbors, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your extended family. But it's always important to remember that people are the reason we do what we do. Sometimes we get lost in our to-do list, don't we? And we're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta do this, and I get laundry, right? She's like, I know. Laundry's like never ending. And now, don't get me wrong, laundry's good because it like gives you a sense of like I accomplished something. Because so much of motherhood is like, did I do anything today? So when you see the pile, you're like, woohoo! But then you turn around and it's like, oh my gosh, like everyone just stay dressed for a day, right? Don't spit up on yourselves. So people are vital. They're so important to our souls. Just like all those events that you have going on for you guys to connect, like those are so important for us, is to connect with other women and have intelligent conversations once in a while. So people are your fuel. And if you find yourself getting into a season where you're isolated and you're not connecting with people, that's a warning sign that should be going off for you guys. And for me too. We always have to make sure that we look at our calendars and be like, is there something on there that brings me refreshment? Something on my calendar that fuels me and my soul. Okay? The next thing is heat. What is rising? So when we talk about fires, a real fire, it needs heat. And I brought matches along, so hopefully I won't set anything on fire today. It might be one of those days, so I have water too. No, but so when we talk about fire and what's rising, heat is what's rising, and we need friction, right, to have heat. Do you guys know? Any science teachers in here? Okay, good. So, if you know more than me, just pretend like you don't. Okay. So when it comes to friction, when we have a box of matches, now some of us use those clickers, but follow on. This has to be struck on the box, right? So when it comes to our lives, the problem is we don't want this to happen. We hate friction. And what is friction? Friction is anything that rubs up against the people that you love. Anything that is going to jeopardize their safety, their security, their well-being, your well-being. Anything in our lives that come and we're like, we say no to. Like, I do not want this situation, this diagnosis, this challenge, this bank account, this body, whatever it is that rubs up against the very thing that you want is friction. So it's only natural we don't want it, right? But here's the thing. If we're tending to our fires, friction is one of the very things that we need. What we want to do is we want to take our people, our fuel, and we want to hide them as far as we can away from the friction, don't we? My goodness, the worst thing in the world is to see your child hurting, to see your child left out. I mean, that just like rips your gut out when you're like at the playground and your kid is the one that's like sitting by themselves, or even worse, like your kid is the bully and you're like, oh my gosh. Now, living in a world of special needs, I'll tell you right now, I've had to navigate with my youngest, the staring thing. You would think that having a brother and sister with special needs, she'd figure it out, but they're different special needs, right? So then you go to the Target, and then she's like, Mommy, look at, I'm like, oh no, you're of all kids, right? Like, it's the worst feeling in the world, it's tension. But here's the thing, tension is the very thing that we need, it's friction. So here's what I'm suggesting, is that when we are pushed up against something, that is when our souls ignite. That's when our souls ignite. When we actually find something that causes friction, it sets us ablaze. And here's why. That's water. Here's why. Friction is the very thing that we need because it causes us to wake up. It causes us to wake up, and it causes us to realize that we're not in control. And so when we understand that friction is the very thing we need, we're more okay with coming around it and figuring it out and handling what we can handle and surrendering what we can't. It's when we try to keep it away that causes problems. So friction rises from circumstances from loving people, right? Circumstances and things that happen in our lives that affect our people. The ignition temperature is when the process of surrender happens. It's the transferring of energy. It's the moment that I push just enough that it goes from being a match to a flame. And it's like your boiling point. It's like when you're just about ready to lose it. You have a choice in that moment. You can either surrender that and realize you're not in control, or you can try to control it and it can totally ruin your fire. And that's what happens when we don't give our fires enough oxygen. And that's the next thing we need. We need oxygen. And I just sense in this room, and I could be wrong, I feel like this is one of the things that moms struggle with, women struggle with, is room. Margin. We feel guilty about margin, don't we? But God made the Sabbath. We're supposed to have a little bit of margin. And I get it, again, I get it. And I don't know if, I could be wrong. I just sense in this room that there's a lot of pressure to like keep up. And whatever that means to you, whatever keeping up means to you, whether it's the goals that you've set for yourself, whether it's expectations that people have of you, just feel in this room, in moms, in women especially, that we feel this sense of not being able to take a break. Is that true, or am I, okay. Can I get a mm-hmm? Okay. I'm not Pentecostal, but I will be. Okay. Okay, yeah. So it's true, and sometimes we feel like we're dying inside. And we know that that's like an extreme, and then we feel guilty for feeling that, right? So we beat ourselves up. So here's what I'm suggesting. Hold on. I'm suggesting in order to keep our fire, our soul, healthy for the people that we love, we must continually add space and time to our souls, to our schedules. We have to. And here's why. For those of you that are Christians, space and time allows the Holy Spirit to breathe into you and refresh you. When's the last time that you got quiet? Beyond hiding in the bathroom to go on Pinterest. Right, that's an amen too. Yeah, it's hard, I get it, but it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary to continue to find that fire that's burning inside of you to live out your motivation, your passion, again, that goes beyond and also includes your people. What happens when fires do not get enough oxygen? Slowly, ever so slowly, without noticing, our fires go out. I didn't put that on there and then boop, it went out, right? I didn't blow it out, which happens sometimes. No, what happens is just ever so slowly, day after day, carpool after carpool, we just go, who are we? And I think sometimes the message is like, ooh, go be yourself, go be you. I don't even know what be you means. I really don't. I'm like, oh. But I think the message more is take care of yourself here. Is tend to your fire. Because this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. Okay? Newsflash, when they're out of MOPS, and there's MOPS next. Like, it just keeps going, right? So, they need us to be healthy and take care of ourselves, and they need to see you growing. Your kids need to see you growing and pouring into yourselves and your heart. It's so important that we find space to let God breathe into who we are and remind us of whose we are, and fill us and encourage us so we can do the hard things like parenting and friending and marriage and stuff like that. So space and time are vital. When we don't have space or time, do you know what we become? Angry lumberjacks. We walk around with an axe and we attack everybody, right? You get short. You're like, oh my gosh, if that kid screams one more time, or my husband leaves out that thing one more time, or oh my goodness, it is 5 o'clock, where is he? He is in so much trouble because I need a rescue. Anyone else need rescued around 5 p.m.? Yeah, I'm like, I need a rescue. We become angry lumberjacks. That's why it's so important to take care of ourselves. So here are some other reasons or ways that fires are extinguished in us. So drowning it. Okay, now this is a participation, audience participation, so you don't gloss over, okay? How many of you have ever felt at least once in a moment that you're like suffocating? Okay, yes. Baby wearers especially, or breastfeeding. I was like, get it off me just for a second, right? Yeah, you just can't breathe. Smothering it, another one, like swaddling people, yes, yeah. It's just a little too much. You feel like things are just coming. Any Hoarder fans watch Hoarders? Thank you. It feels like that. Don't. Listen, when I watch Hoarders, you know what I do? Is I throw away my husband's stuff. I'm like, it's all over you. Not much. Exhausting. Can I get a exhausted? Anyone exhausted? Have been? Should be? Yeah. That's for real. And then taking our fuel source away. Taking our fuel source away. So for me, obviously, my kids, right? When they went to heaven, and they're not with me anymore, and they've been taken away, what do you think is a challenge for me? It's not space. I'm nailing the space game right now, okay? Right now, it's my people. My people, they're not here. My life has changed. All the caregiving, I was changing diapers for 10 years, and at one point on 3 people. I had like triplets. They're just different sizes. It's gone. It's gone. Everything that I knew changed in one breath. Sometimes our souls and our spirits go out when our people do. And you guys have had loss. You guys have had hurt. You know what I mean when people disappear. It might not even be death. It might be a severed relationship. It might be a marital challenge that you're in right now. A separation, right? When the fuel sources go away. Sometimes so does our purpose and our motivation for living. So if you don't have people, find some. You're just blowing smoke. So here's my thing, right? You remember White Rabbit when you're at a fire? You're like, white rabbit, yeah. You're just blowing smoke. So here's what I suggest. If you don't have people, you can find some. There are always broken branches lying around. Always. There are always hurting people that need you. So whether or not you've lost people or you have room for more people, people need you to show up. So what do? Is I go grab some branches, okay? You are my branches. That's why I'm here. You fuel my fire. You know what else fuels my fire? Being an ant fuels my fire. My first grader fuels my fire. My friends fuel my fire, okay? What's really cool about my situation now is that all of those people that helped me navigate my life, because I couldn't even go to Target with my kids. I had like 2 wheelchairs and a toddler. Like, that's insane. So I couldn't even go to Target by myself. So now what I get to do is I get to show up for the people that showed up for me. That fuels my fire. So if you need some broken people around you to fuel your fire, go get them. They're just waiting. For some of us, we have to cut something down. Now we're friends because I've been here for a while, so I can poke a little bit. But something in you might need to be cut out to tend to your fire. And this might be, and I'm just speaking for myself, this might be e-news at 10 p.m., okay? It might need to be cut out. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. I'm just talking about myself. But there might be habits or things that you're doing that are suffocating your fire. What is it for you? Is it comparison? Are you on Instagram watching too much? What is it that's sucking the life out of you right now that you know has to get cut out? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe you're just like trying to navigate a relationship with family or friends, and it is just sucking the life out of you. Or maybe like the triple braids that we're trying to do on our girls, and we're trying to get them right, maybe it's sucking the life out of you. You know what? Pigtails, right? Whatever you gotta do to make yourself sane, even if it's not organic or the right thing to do, sometimes we have to do it. Why? Because our fuel source depends on it, okay? We have to find the things in our life that are preventing us from fully being who God needs us to be. And I don't know what those are for you. Mine's e-news. I don't know what yours are. But some things might need to be cut out. So, if we don't have friction, the one you don't want, you're a tree hugger. You're a tree hugger. You're standing around hugging trees saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I don't think, now if you're a tree hugger, I don't mean to offend you. But I just think God wants more from us. I think God wants us to wake up in the morning and have fire in our bellies to be who he wants us to be. To see an injustice, to see a broken thing and step into it. And it doesn't have to be like super fancy or big. For some of us, this could mean that at the preschool that we're sending our kids to, the teacher is overwhelmed, there's a craft thing that's happening, and you know what? You are good and creative at crafts. So you say to the teacher, you know what? I can help. And you step into that. Maybe it's as simple as you went to law school, but you and your family have decided to do something different. And so you're staying at home. Find a way to use your gifting while you're in a season that you can't be in. So maybe it's a grant, right? You start writing grants for nonprofits because you have a brain that works that way. And that lights you up. So as the kids are napping, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can do something that ignites your fire. You can see injustice, you can see brokenness, and you can step into it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll need to bring your people into some things that cause friction. Okay? So for me, as an example, because of my kid's story, what I get to do now is I'm a pediatric hospice volunteer. So I get to sit in homes with parents that are going to go down the same journey as me. Is that got some friction in it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But for me, it's like, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'm going to step right into that. Is it hard? Yes. Does it light my fire? Yes. You know why? Because pain has opened doors for me that I can step into that very few people can. What is that for you? Maybe it's actually going to be birthed out of the very thing that is causing you pain. So we need all three of those for combustion to happen. For combustion to happen. So fire is the visible effect of the process of combustion. Now, the only reason I told you I volunteer pediatric hospice so we can have a conversation, but you don't see that, right? You don't even see my fuel when I'm walking down the road. You don't see my story. What you see is my light. What people see when they see you is the light that you are giving off. God says we're the light of Christ. And what can we do with that light? We can warm people by our fires. We can illuminate the pathway home. There are so many things that we get to do when we are tending to our fires. So fire is vital because it leads to transformation. If you want to remain stuck, continue to do the very things that keep this from being nurtured. But if you want your life to be transformed, if you want to be better because of the very things that are in your life, then you have to make them work together. You have to bring the friction and set it right near your people. And you have to let God breathe into that if you want transformation. People are going to be drawn to your light. Think about it. When you're out and it's dark and you're cold, where do you want to stand? You want to stand right near the fire. You want to stand right near the fire. Remember being a little girl and going like camping for the weekend, whether it was with your parents or like a church camp, when we're outside and it's dark and you can see the stars and it's beautiful. Where do you want to go? You want to sit by the campfire. You want to roast marshmallows. And here's the thing. I don't need to tell you how dark the world is. I don't need to tell you how people are hurting in this world. From depression, anxiety, marriages, finances, you name it, somebody's got it. Somebody is hurting. We're all hurting to some degree, right?
So what if we took that hurt, let God transform that hurt, and we could be a little bright light for someone else to warm themselves and draw near to our fire? We can do that. You can do that. And we are invited to light the way. That's the cool part, is that sometimes when we are down and out, and we're struggling, and we're in the dark, and somebody comes alongside of us and has a little bright light, we get to take our match, and we get to sometimes light our fire right off of our friends. So when we're close enough to that fire, we get to just reach in and get a little borrowed light to go and take care of ours at home. We're guides. We're torchbearers. We don't need to have the same situations. What we need to have are the same elements tending to our fire all the time. I love this quote. I'm sure you guys have heard it. But the place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. So this isn't about putting yourself on an altar of sacrifice and like just being the best mom you can. No, I'm talking about the thing that like lights you up when you talk different. What is that for you? You have that thing that makes you come alive. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I was down at a MOPS group in San Antonio, and I was working with MOPS moms that are on the Air Force Base. And they're brilliant and lovely, and I have such a good time. I'm actually going for my 4th time. They bring me every year, which is awesome, because Texas is awesome. But I've never been off the base either, so it's funny, because that's all I know of San Antonio. But I was talking with these moms, and I was going around, and I was like, what ignites you? What are you dreaming about? And one mom is like, photography. Who's a photography? Anyone photography lights you up in here? You just love pictures? Yeah, I got a fancy jazz hand back there. Yeah, pictures. That's great, right? Another mom wanted to start a small business like crafting. Anyone else? Crafters? Yeah, crafters. Awesome. So we're going around the table. One mom's like, I want to teach. I'm in a season that I want to start teaching once my kids get into school. Any teachers in here? Awesome. Yes. Okay. So then we get all the way around to this last woman, and I could tell she's sweating. And I'm like, this is going to be horrible. Like, I've just put this woman on the spot, and she's like all nervous, and she's heard like all these like professions and dreams and all stuff. She goes, I don't have one. And I'm like, okay, that's a lie. Like, we all have things. Maybe we have to dig a little deeper, but we all have things that bring us joy, that light us up. Oh, I mean, I do, but it's like it's just not like important. Okay, well, what is it? She's like, I like to make lunches for my kids. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you. I was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of lame. I mean, like in my head, right? So, see, I'm vain and I'm judgmental. But in my head, I'm like, that is kind of lame. And then she started talking about it. Well, and here's why. Here's the truth, because this is what we do. It's because I send my kid to school with Lunchables and Uncrustables and like packaged things. So what I was doing is, it's called transference, okay? And I was going, wow, she must be a really good mom, and I'm not. Okay, so let's get to what that was. But I'm like, I don't know. So she's like, I like to take these like tomatoes and like mozzarella balls and like make R2-D2 figures. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I'm sure it's cool. And so she's so embarrassed telling us all this. And then like a light bulb went on. And I was like, that's her thing. Like that, it lights her up. And here's why that's important. She does it because she loves doing it, and she loves the people she does it for. It's not a show. She's not trying to impress the parents and make them feel bad. In fact, one of the things she said was she doesn't even do it sometimes because she's so scared that us Lunchable moms are going to feel less than. And so she covers up her fire to make sure that I'm doing okay. Some of us do that, don't we? Like, well, I can't really step into photography because I don't want my moms that just like use their iPhone to feel bad because my pictures are so beautiful of my kids and I don't want to post them, right? So some of us actually go the opposite when it comes to comparison and hide what brings us deep gladness. But this is an offering that we have to give to the world. And so I was like, you know what, lady, R2D2 lady, you make those lunches. I went up to her the next day and I'm like, thank you. Thank you for teaching me something. And please, please, for literally the love of God, make those lunches. If that's what lights you up and brings you joy, do it. Do it. Okay, now, this woman's not smart. Her back is to the fire. And that is not a good idea. Why? Because that cute little blanket and flannel could go up in flames. And here's the point. We have to tend to our fires. We cannot turn our back. We cannot run on the great fire that we made yesterday. So many of us go, got it, nailing it, see ya. And we think that just because we had a good quiet time or we're in an easy season that we just can check out. And we can't. You can't check out. You have to keep tending to the fire. You cannot get comfortable. Here's the thing with fire. It's double-sided. So it can be dangerous and destructive. We all know how fires can cause destruction, but they also are useful and they can help us grow. One of my favorite quotes. We can sing songs of happiness without knowing pain, but we can sing the joy of our creation and honor the Creator only from within the fire. We have to go in. Do you guys remember Nebuchadnezzar? For those of you that grew up in church, which I didn't, but I just heard the names of like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and that's super fun to say. It's like Mississippi. So anyway, in Daniel, it's a story about this king, and he's mad, and he throws these Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fire, and he looks in, and he's like, ha, ha, ha. And then when he looks in, he doesn't see 3 guys, he sees 4. And here's my point. God is with you in fire, just like he was way back then. It's scary when we put our people that we love, I'm messing up over here, put it right next to our matches, right? It's so scary to do that. It's scary to tend to our fire. But here's what we want at the end of our life. We want well done. We want to use every single piece of wood that's stacked in our backyard. We want to burn it up. We want to take all of our people, all of our passions, all of the space, all of the margins in our life, and we want to see God use them to the point when we get home that God goes, you know what? Well done. Well done. You burned it up. You didn't leave a stack of woods sitting in the back of your yard. Don't you? Don't you want to get to the end of your life whenever that comes and just be like, man, I lived a good life? I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, man, I really wish I would have, stepped into that. I really wish I would have made more lunches. I wish I would have taken more pictures. I wish I would have tried to speak, even though maybe I'm not that good and maybe I'm nervous. Like, maybe I should have stepped into those things. Maybe I should have stepped into pediatric hospice, even though I'm really scared to go. The things that we're called to are scary. They're scary. But I want to get to the end of my life, and I know you want to get to the end of your life and be like, I did it. I went scared. I did it anyway, and I saw so many amazing things by doing it. At the end of the summer, it was August, We were on this week-long camping trip. And it was like Friday. We were supposed to go home Sunday. And we were packing up the camper and everything like that. And I'm like, let's take the canoe out, or the kayak out. So I took the kayak out, and that's my daughter, Brooklyn. And we went on this kayak ride, and the sun was just hitting, like, it was just this beautiful moment. And the truth is, I could have gone back to that camper, packed up the stuff, been an efficient mom, and been on the road to our next journey. But instead, I pushed pause on the to-do list, and I grabbed my daughter, and I put her in a kayak, and I spent a really nice time kayaking. She's really wiggly, too, and so I didn't think that this would be a good idea, but as soon as I put her on my lap, she was still. That night, I went back to the back of the camper, and she was not doing well. So we had to leave, and hospice was waiting for us when we got back, and she was gone 72 hours later. I am so thankful that I pushed pause. I was so thankful that I got to spend time with my daughter. Don't go numb to the demands of your life where you miss it. Don't miss it. And sometimes we are so scared of this friction, we miss it. Don't avoid stepping into the brokenness in fear that you can't protect your babies, because then you will miss loving your babies too. You will miss the most beautiful things that God has for you if you continue to push away the friction. So these are my three. I will always be a mother of 3 children. 2, I've just walked home. But they are my fuel. They will continue to be my fuel. And they're the reason that I wake up every day. And love continues. The love that I've had for Jaden and Brooklyn continue. That has not died. That's eternal. And I will get to see them one day. So fire is the visible effect of the process of transformation. Let's let God transform us. This is my daughter's funeral. And what we did is we set a candle on the table, we lit it, and we went up, my husband and I, and we lit our candles off of her flame. And we came down and we lit Elliot's candle off of our flame. And then we lit some of our friends' candles off of our flame. And our friends walked down the aisle of our church, and everyone there lit a candle off of one 9-year-old girl's light. Who is lighting their light off of yours? What rooms are you illuminating as you go about loving people? Life is not just about taking our sticks and hoarding them under our roof. It's about sharing the people that we love with the world. It's about letting God light us up so we can light other people up. Can I pray for you guys? Okay. Lord, thank you. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for these lovely women. Lord, I don't know where the struggle is for some of these women. For some, it's going to be fuel. For some, it's going to be finding time and space. For some, it's going to be the friction and running into these places that scare us. But Lord, I just know that when we step into these places and we let you take control, breathe into those places, that we will be warmed by the fire and we will be able to lead and light the room up with the fire that you give us. And Lord, that's going to bring us a lot of joy. And so we ask that you would just move. When we're scared, that you would just move, and that you would move right now in these women as they start their discussions around the table. And Lord, again, I just thank you for who you are. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to be here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. You guys can go to your small groups.